Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhakti Vedanta Bhagavad Groups, Bhagavad Vani, and a concluding session on Sharnagati. Rejecting activities not conducive to Krishna consciousness. Our program today will follow. We'll begin shortly with an opening kirtan by His Grace Satchitananda Das. That will be followed by a class on Sharnagati by His Grace Satchitananda Das. Thereafter, devotees will be invited to share their thoughts and ask questions. We will then conclude with announcements and a closing kirtan. So we'll now invite His Grace Satchitananda Das to lead the opening kirtan.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Continuing in the theme of the 6th branch of Sharnagati, today we will be singing the 3rd song composed by His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti-Vinod Thakur. aya-vimūd or mayavadi. This is in the section of ''Bhakti-pratikūla bhav varjan angikar''. Bhakti pratikulyasya sankalpa. Whatever is not conducive to Krishna bhakti, one must reject. विषय विमूढयार मायावादी जना भक्ति शून्य दुन्हे प्राण हरे आकरण विषय में गुणयार मायावादी जन भक्ति शून्य गुण प्राण हरे आकरण विषय विमूढयार मायावादी जन भक्ति शून्य गुणे प्राण हरे आकरण ए दुई संगना होए आमार ए दुई संगना होए आमार प्रार्थना करिए आमी चरण तुम्हार प्रार्थना करिए आमी चरण तुम्हार সে দুয়ের মধ্য বিষ কব ভালো সে দুয়ের মধ্য বিষয়ী তবে ভালো মায়াবাদী সঙ্গ নাহি মাগি কোন কালো মায়াবাদী সঙ্গ নাহি মাগি কোন কাল বিষয় হৃদয়ে যবে সাধু সঙ্গ পায় বিষয় হৃদয় যবে সাধু সঙ্গ পায় অনায়াসে লাভে ভক্তি ভক্তের কৃপায় অনায়াসে লাভে ভক্তি ভক্তের কৃপায় मायावाद दोष जा हृदये पशीलो मायावाद दोष जा हृदये पशीलो कूट करके हृदय का वज्र क्षमा भेलो कूट करके हृदयता वज्र क्षमा भेलो भक्तिर स्वरूपायार विषयाश्रय भक्तिर स्वरूपायार विषयाश्रय मायावादी अनित्य बोलिया सब खोय मायावादी अनित्य सब को तार कृष्ण सेवा श्रवण कीर्तन धिक्कार कृष्ण सेवा श्रवण कीर्तन कृष्ण अंगे वज्र हाने ताहार स्थावन कृष्ण अंग व्रज हाने ताहार स्थावन मायावाद समा भक्ति प्रतिकूल नाई ओ मायावाद समा भक्ति प्रतिकूल नाई अतैव मायावादी संग नाही चाही अतैव मायावादी संग नाही चाही भक्ति विनोद माया वाद दूर कोरी भक्ति विनोद मायावाद दूर कोरी ओ भक्ति विनोद माया वाद दूर कोरी वैष्णव संगे ते वैशे नामाश्रय धोरे हो वैष्णव संगे ते वैशे नामाश्रय धोरे विषय विमूढया मायावादी जन विषय विमूढया मायावादी जन भक्ति शून्य दुने प्राण थोड़े आकरण भक्ति शून्य दुने प्राण थोड़े आकरण हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता श्री हरि गुरु वैष्णव भागवत गीता श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद नित्यानंद श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता हरि गुरु वैष्णव भागवत गीता हरि गुरु वैष्णव भागवत गीता श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ ए छोए गोसाई जान व्रजे कोइलावास ए छोए गोसाई जान व्रजे कोइलावास राधा कृष्ण नित्य लीला कोरीला प्रकाश हो राधा कृष्ण नित्य लीला कोरीला प्रकाश आनंदे बोलो हरि भज वृंदावन जाइया मन श्री गुरु पाद पद्म मा जाइया मन हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन गिरधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जय राधा मदन मोहन राधा मदन मोहन राधे राधे जय राधा गोविंद राधा गोविंद राधे राधे जय राधा गोपीनाथ राधा गोपीनाथ राधे राधे जय कृष्ण बलराम जय वृंदावन धाम जय राधिका राधे श्याम जय ललिता विशाखा राधे श्याम जय ललिता विशाखा राधे श्याम जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल
Hare Krishna, and thank you, Satchitananda, for nice kirtan, a good start today's program. Some nice auspicious vibrations make us all feel good, and tomorrow is the Thanksgiving. So we also like to remember our dear Lord Krishna and the entire parampara, and to thank them sincerely for bringing us to this point. So anyway, for most of the devotees attending the program today, most of you are quite familiar with His Grace Satchitananda's background. But for a few that's attending for the first time, we'll just give you a brief description of his activities in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. His Grace Satchitananda Das is a disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Charuswami. Over 30 years ago, Satchitananda joined the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and is involved in almost every department that ISKCON has to offer services. He's been active in the Prasadam department, preparing a Prasadam, organizing. He's been giving music lessons to young children, both Mridanga and harmonium, and he's been giving classes throughout ISKCON, most of their centers, both locally and internationally. And he's well known for his katha on Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and other Vaishnava subjects. Satchitananda Das is dedicated to serving the mission of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And today, we are very pleased to hear from him on the concluding subject matter of Sharnagati, rejecting those activities not conducive to Krishna consciousness. So let's welcome Satchitananda Das.
ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। आराध्यो भगवान् व्रजेशतनयस्तद्धाम वृन्दावनं रम्या काचिदुपासना व्रजवधूवर्गेण तया कल्पिता। श्रीमद्भागवत पुराणयमलं प्रेम पुमार्थो महान् श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभोर्मतैरं नायत्र याग्रह परः। परम करुणा बहुद्वी जन निताय गौर चंद्र सब अवतार सार शिरोमणि केवल आनंद कंद। भजो भजो भाई चैतन्य निताय सुदृढ़ विश्वास कोरी। विषय छाड़िया से रस माझिया बोल मुखे बोलो हरि हरि। मोस्ट मर्सीफुल पतित पावन निताय गौर सुंदर की जय। नवनीरदनिंदित कांतिधरम रससागर नागर भूपवरम शुभवंकिमचारु शिखंड शिखिं भज कृष्ण निधिं व्रजराजसुतं। राधिका सरोदेन्दु निंदे मुख मंडले वंदे श्रीपाद पद्म वृषभानु नंदिनी। वंदे श्रीपाद पद्म वृषभानु नंदिनी वंदिये श्रीपाद पद्म वृषभानु नंदिनी वंचाकल्पतरुश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो भक्ति विनोदाय सच्चिदानंद नामिने गौर शक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुगा वरायते। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Welcome all to the Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad Group Bhagavadvani Sunday weekly program. Vaishnadas Prabhu, thank you so much for hosting this program and for the generous introduction. I only hope that I can continuously live up to the standards of what our Srila Prabhupada has set as it is, and following in the footsteps of the sincere followers of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. I seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas present and His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada and the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya Acharya Guru. So, as we all know that we have been very nicely discussing the sixth branch of Sharnagati. If you all recollect quickly, Sharnagati means that Sharan means shelter, and it is a Sanskrit word comprising of two words. Sharan plus Agati equals Sharnagati. Sharan means shelter and Agati means steadfast. Steadfast like a solid mountain, like a solid rock. Come what may in my life, come what may, whatever situations may be, come what may, whatever species of life I'm born in, I will always, Mama Janmani Janmani Bhakti, Mama Janmani Janmani Ahituki Bhaktir Twai. Like Mahaprabhu says, birth after birth after birth, I only desire your causeless mercy and your service without any kind of material motivation. And whether you kick me or embrace me, O Krishna, I will always, Ashlisha Padaratam Pinastuma Madarshanam Marmo Harto Karotuva Yatha Tathava Lampato. Whatever, whether you kick me or embrace me, you are the transcendental autocrat, O Krishna. You are my life and soul, birth after birth after birth after birth. So that is Sharnagati. And Sharnagati has 6 branches. What are the 6 branches of Sharnagati that we discussed so many times? But just to very briefly understand, these 6 branches are discussed in Hari Bhakti Vilas by Sanatana Goswami and Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam rakshasidi vishwaso goprite varnam tatha atma nikshepna karpanye shadavigda Sharnagati. Shadavida means the 6th process of full surrender to Krishna, the 6th process or the 6 branches of Sharnagati, which is Anukulisa Sankalpa. We should always perform activities that are conducive to Krishna Bhakti. Pratikulyasya Varjanam. Give up activities that are not conducive to Krishna consciousness. And this particular topic that we are discussing today, being the 3rd session, is on the same subject matter, which Bhaktivinoda Thakur is listed as number 6 in his introductory song of Sharnagati, which is actually exactly the same 6 branches that Hari Bhakti Vilas mentions. The 3rd branch being Rakshasati Vishwaso, that I have full faith that Krishna will always protect me. Goptir de Varnam, and Krishna is my maintainer. Indeed, not on my own efforts, not on my own degrees or scholarship or education or material assets, I maintain myself. No, Krishna is my maintainer. Go through the Varnam. Tatha and Atma Nikshepa. Atma Nikshepa means whatever we have, we offer to Krishna. Our mind, our body, our soul, our assets, everything belongs to Sri Krishna. Just like we offer, how do we pray to the Mother Ganga or to the Mother Jamuna? When we are offering Arti to Mother Ganga or Jamuna, we offer their own waters to them. We offer their own waters. So similarly, we offer everything that belongs to Krishna. Isha Vasham idam sarvam yat kinchana jagatyam jagat tena taktena bhunjita ma grida kasvasid dhanam. Isopanishad. And in Isopanishad, it is mentioned that everything belongs to Sri Krishna. Isha Vasham idam sarvam. Krishna everything belongs to Krishna, and Krishna is residing everywhere. Yat kinchana jagatyam jagat, everything in this world, in this creation. Tena taktena bhunjita magrida kasvasid jana. One should not take anybody else's wealth or anybody's assets, just enough for providing, to maintain the body and soul together. So that is Atma Nikshepa. Although by our past karma, Krishna has given us a house, a family, including assets, but everything belongs to Krishna. So everything we must offer to Krishna. That is Atma Nikshepa. And Karpanya. Karpanya, the sixth is Dainya, meaning humility. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has kind of shuffled the order a little bit, bringing Dainya in the first place. Dainya Atma Nivedana Goptrite Varana Avasya Rakshive Krishna Vishwasa Palana Bhakti Anukulya Karya Karejo Svikar. And the sixth one that we are discussing with the third session today is Bhakti-pratikūla bhav Varjan Angikar. Whatever is not helpful to our Krishna consciousness, to Krishna Bhakti, we must certainly reject. And we sang two different songs in the previous two sessions that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has so nicely explained the rejection of. There are many, many different philosophers like Kapila, Patanjali, Gautama, Konubhaji, Gautama, Jaimini, Dhave Ave. There are different philosophers like Kapil Muni, Gautam Muni, Kanabhuji, Kapila, Kanabhuji, Gautama. So all these different philosophers, they come to us just like, and they are simply like spreading a noose around our neck, like a fanda, because they are simply all atheistic in nature. So we briefly had discussed that. If you all recollect, that Kapil Muni was the personality that imitated Kapil Dev, and he's the one who was atheistic in nature, using some of the Sankhya philosophy of Kapil Dev. Kapil Dev is an incarnation of Sri Krishna, and we find that he has wonderfully, that canto number 3, we find there's a wonderful conversation between Kapil Dev and Devuti Mata, his mother, and where he is instructing his mother about pure devotional service. But then it got concocted and converted by another Kapil Muni, who is an atheist. So he comes to try to rescue me by using different methodologies, where there is a system of metaphysics which leads to simply atheism. And that's what most of the people in today's world, the modern scientists, are more or less like descendants of Kapil Muni and their philosophy. They believe in nature, they believe in all the material elements, they believe in all these different energies of the Lord, the atom and the elements and the different chemicals and molecules and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, they are atheistic in nature. Patanjali was another Muni where he propagated the Yoga Sutra. And Yoga Sutra, if it did not lead to the pure realization of surrendering to Sri Krishna, then it is completely wasted. It is simply an exercise to keep your body healthy, just like somebody going to the gym and doing push-ups and using all those elliptical machinery and the cardio machinery and all, and simply, building a nice body so that you can eat well, sleep well, mate well, and defend well. So that is not the goal of human life. ahar nidra bhai mathuram cha etad naranam pashubi samana dharmena adhika vishesho dharma vihina pashubi samana. Eating, sleeping, and mating and defending are the four functions that are common to man and animal. And unless and until we develop a fifth function, which is spirituality, then we are as good as animals. This is a very straightforward verse that Vyasadeva has quoted in the Vedas. And Srila Prabhupada used to quote this. So if only our body, if we only trying to go and do all these different yogic exercises just to keep our body fit, then we are good followers of Patanjali Muni, who was atheistic in nature. And the modern Patanjali follower is the famous Baba Ramdev. No connection with Krishna, no connection. They only talk superficially about connecting with Paramatma, connecting with the super soul. But at the end of the day, it is how to keep your body fit. And that's not what yoga is. The word yoga, we have discussed that many a time. Yoga in Sanskrit, if we translate that into simple English, means connecting. And connecting to who? Is it connecting to this material world, connecting to the family, connecting to all these materialistic activities? No. Vasudeva Paraveda, Vasudeva Paramaka, Vasudeva Param Jnanam, Vasudeva Param Tapa, Vasudeva Paro Dharmo, Vasudeva Paragati, Vasudeva Paragatihi. This is what Srimad Bhagavatam says, that if one is performing austerities, then it should culminate into the attachment to Krishna. If one is performing yoga, even if it is yogic exercises, that is meant to control the senses. And if it does not obtain Krishna, then it is useless. Vasudeva para Veda. If one is trying to study the Vedas and the conclusion is not Vasudeva, the conclusion is not the lotus feet of Krishna, then the studying of the Vedas is useless. Similarly, the ultimate destiny, Vasudeva para Makaha. People are nowadays enamored by different kind of yagyas, this yagya, that yagya, and so many different kind of yagyas they do. But here clearly Srimad Bhagavatam, Vasudeva Param Makaha. Makaha means performing the home or the fire sacrifices. That is for the satisfaction of Vasudeva. So all these activities, Srimad Bhagavatam says that if one cannot, or any activity that doesn't culminate into the attachment to the lotus feet of Krishna, it is shrama evahi kevalam. It is simply a useless, futile exercise. So all these different Patanjali, Kapila, Gautam, all these different Gautam Rishi, he propounded the logic, the nyaya, how to analyze different opposing views, how to argue, tarka. Tarka means arguments, logic, etc. How to defeat somebody in that epistemology when perception, influence, and comparison is unreliable and reliable. He presents the theory of the soul, the Atma, but the essence of the person, the source of the judgments in the soul, states that the judgment is not non-eternal. So then he presents the theory of karma. So Gautam Rishi, so that's the maximum that he goes that far. And this is how he presents, and that's Bhaktivinoda Thakur rejects and says that these are all atheistic philosophers. Kanobhoj was one of them, Kanobhoj or Kannada Muni or Kanubhuk Muni, who was present in the 2nd century, and he was famous for the Vaisheshika school, which is the analysis of the atom, or the atomistic pluralism, where everything comes from the atom and everything is made up of atoms. It's a conglomeration of atoms, and then ultimately, eliminating very cleverly the existence of Sri Krishna. So that is atheism. Jaimini was a 4th century philosopher who was the famous treatise that became famous, and people got attracted to his Purva-mimamsa sutras, which was mostly dedicated to karma, to karmic activities. So these different, and Buddha, Lord Buddha came, who is none other than Krishna, but he is the only exception. He is Sri Krishna himself, but he came to completely disillusion all those souls due to the heavy slaughter of animals. Krishna had to stop that. So Keshava Dhrita Buddha Sharira Jai Jagadisha Hare. He came because he said that all these Vedas are useless. Don't believe in the Vedas. And there is no life after this life. Shunya, Shunyavad. Buddhism is Shunyavad. So Ahimsa paro dharma. Ultimate goal in life is, ahimsa or non-violence. So stop that, because unscrupulous Brahmins and unscrupulous people who are so much addicted to sense gratification and satisfying the tongue, they use certain tamasic Vedas that were written in the mode of ignorance for those people who could slowly elevate from tamogun to rajogun and from rajo to sato and eventually to shuddha sattvam, transcendentalism. But those who only caught on those verses and caught on those pages, oh, there it is written on page number such and such in the Vedas that you can eat meat. And then the unscrupulous Brahman said, yes, 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 my dear followers, you can eat meat. Just say these mantras and you'll be fine. And they will only use selected mantras. There were mantras in the Vedas that allowed the killing of a certain animal, exceptional certain animals like goats and those lower species, never the mother cow. There's no injunction in the way. And even when killing a goat on a particular, Amavasya night, on the fortnight where the moon was waxing or was waning, and in that night, at that time, offering some mantras to Mother Kali, they would offer, and in that, while offering that sacrifice, they would say that, my dear goat, I'm killing you, but in your next life, you can kill me. So slowly one would wonder, why am I doing this? When they are repeatedly doing a certain activity, then at some time something will dawn if they follow the injunctions of the Vedas. So even animal killing was allowed in the Vedas, but with a specific instruction. It is too dangerous when we don't follow instructions. Like I gave the example the other day, I remember, if you're buying a very huge piece of furniture from, let's say, a big store like IKEA, and you open and you view that huge heavy box that you barely 5 people carry to your room or your bedroom, and then you start assembling it with your own tiny brains or with your own concoction without following the rules and regulations that they've shown that, hey, these are the 2 main parts, first assemble them. Then this is the main piece that you need to screw that in and then stand it up. And then slowly you have to add all the shells and all the other things. But if one skips those steps, then suddenly as you're working, the whole thing can collapse on you and it can become dangerous for not following the instructions. So that's exactly what happened to all those animal killers who love to satisfy their belly and their tongue, but they disregarded the injunctions of the Vedas. So Krishna had to come and reject the Vedas as Lord Buddha. So then Lord Buddha says, forget the Vedas. And then Jaimini is that personality who narrated the Mahabharata who is a disciple of Vyasadeva. So all these different philosophers, they do not preach pure bhakti. And we get attracted. So many people, they get attracted to the Buddhist temple. There's a nice environment. And then, but the entire 95-98% of the Buddhist population are meat eaters. So what's the point? 100%, or we can say 99% of the followers of Jesus Christ, who was a pure Vaishnava, he never ate meat. They're all meat eaters. Jesus Christ taught about Vaishnavism. So in today's world, things are just being diluted. The dilution is happening every day. It is even happening in our own ISKCON movement. And that is the reason it is so important to follow Dharmasya tattva nihitam guyam mahajana jena gathasa pantaha. One should follow in the footsteps of the pure devotees. Following the footsteps of the acharyas. Na tarkaya na buddhaya. We should not use our logic and buddhaya, our intelligence. Because our experience, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, it is material. And we will always try to bring up a logic or that we have been engaged in since time immemorial, birth after birth after birth, engaged in and influenced by this material nature. But when a spiritual master, when a personality comes from the spiritual world, then he is not of this world. He is not controlled by the 3 modes of material nature. So whatever instructions they give as it is should be followed to the T for our own benefit. So these are the different philosophers who come. And then last time we started one song that Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentioned in his Bhakti-pratikūla, or the activities that are not conducive to Krishna consciousness branch. He says, tuwā-bhakti-pratikūla dharma jā'te roy, parama jatone tahe tajivo nishchay. he says, I take a vow. What is the vow that I take? Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that without any kind of compromise, a tuwā-bhakti-pratikūla dharma jā'te roy, parama jotone, param means with great endeavor, I will certainly, and I will take a vow without any compromise that all actions that are contrary to your devotional service, I will abandon, I will reject. Then he says, tuwā-bhakti bahirmukha sanga nahi koribo. Gauranga virodhi japa, Gauranga virodhi jono mukha na heribo. He says that tuwā-bhakti bahirmukha, those who are averse to pure bhakti, those persons who are averse to your pure bhakti, I will never associate with them. Gauranga virodhi jana mukha na heribo. And those who are against the principles of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and against the principles of pure bhakti as propagated by Mahaprabhu, I will not even see their face. I will not even see their face. This is pure Gaudiya Vaishnavism, my dear devotees. We have to grasp this if we really want to advance. Because if we are not advanced, everything looks the same. Just like when we go into a jeweler's shop and when we see all those shining crystals in the showcase, and because we have no knowledge, everything looks the same. The beautiful, the beautiful, most expensive diamond also looks like that cubic zirconia known as the American diamond, which is $10 for 1 carat, and whereas the pure diamond is several hundred thousands of dollars, but they all look the same in the same showcase. When you see all these people in the Bollywood movies and in the soap operas, they wear all these heavy, beautiful necklaces, the actresses, and they have all these diamond-laden, studded rings and earrings. But they look so real. You cannot tell the difference. Nowadays in the parties, people wear those. It has become a trend. Nobody really can afford to wear millions of dollars worth of jewelry that is real. So they wear but it looks real. When they talk to the women, oh yeah, it looks real. This is so nice. And they even, some of the people, they lie. Yeah. My husband bought it in my last anniversary. He spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on it, but it was not even worth $200. So the thing is, that's what our situation is. If we do not become good jewelers, Prabhupada has taught us to become good jewelers when we read his books and instructions, just like any subject matter. A subject matter, if we follow the instructions of the teacher or the professor, whether it is material or spiritual, then we can excel in it. And we are able to excel in a particular subject if we follow the perfect professor. And those who are very, very, very fortunate will get that perfect professor in their life, whether for material or spiritual. So we are most fortunate that we are under the guidance of His Divine Krishna Prabhupada, under the guidance of the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Mahaprabhu himself. So those are the topmost jewelers. They know what is true and what is not. The topmost jeweler is Naradji, who himself told Vyasadeva, who although he wrote all the Vedas and everything, he was still completely dissatisfied. And then, not knowing the reason for dissatisfaction, at that time, Gurudev Naradji appears in front of Vyasadeva himself, who is none other than an incarnation of Mahavishnu. He himself was bewildered. He had compiled the Rig Veda, and then it was so complicated, he had to divide it into 3. Samved, Yajurved, Atharvaved. And then it was so complicated that then he had to speak on that. Those were the Upanishads. Upanishad means sitting next to the Guru and hearing his purports. That is known as Upanishad, to sit besides the Guru. And then those who made notes, the 108 Upanishads are basically from the disciples of Vyasadeva, who made the notes while hearing to Gurudev. And that's how they came as Upanishads. While I was sitting next to my Gurudev, I heard this. And that is what became, that was what manifest as the Upanishads. Vedanta Sutras, all this here, exhaustive, but still completely dissatisfied. So at that time, Vyasadeva appeared, Naradji appeared and told Vyasadeva. This is there in the first canto of chapter number 5, 6, and 7, where he clearly says that, yes, you have written something about pure bhakti, but you have mixed it with karma kand, you have mixed it with yoga, you have mixed it with gyan kand, you have mixed it with so many things that are related to dharma, artha, kam, and moksha. The chatur purusharthas, meaning the four different ways of being happy. What are those? One should conduct dharma, the different pious activities. Why? Vedas is full of that. Because when one performs pious activities, the result of piety is one will get done, one will get wealth. So dharma will give you artha. Artha means wealth. And artha, when you get more and more wealth, what happens? The next step, Naradji is telling Vyasdev that artha will fulfill one's material desires. Today we have one simple car, but as we get more money, now I want a nice hybrid car. Now I want that Tesla, that when I just simply call on my smartphone, Tesla, I'm at this restaurant, please pick me up. And Tesla comes driving driverless right in front of the door and picks that person up. Then some other model will come up in the next couple of years, and I want that. Because now, due to my piety, I've earned a lot of money. Now I want, instead of one house, I want 5 houses. So the list goes on. So dharma followed by artha, artha followed by kama. Kama means material desires. And those who are a little bit intelligent, they get frustrated. They get frustrated due to kama, because then, even though they have their Lamborghini and the Ferrari and they have their mansions and all these things, they're still unhappy. We find that, I mentioned this before, I give this example quite often. There's somebody who made the whole world laugh in Hollywood. All of you have heard of that famous comedian, Robin Williams, multimillionaire. Somebody who gave entertainment to the whole world, Michael Jackson. People were crazy, but they were the unhappiest people. Robin Williams was found hung in his own closet with his own belt, the waist belt. He put it around him and he hung him over his own thing in the closet, and they found his body there. This is somebody who made everybody laugh, from kids to the old age people. Because people don't know where to find the real happiness. Michael Jackson, millions and millions of dollars of worth that Neverland, like the Disney World, and he had all these children come, and he had all these people, but he was totally inside, he was taking drugs. He wanted more and more stronger drugs. So he told his doctor one day, give me something very strong. I cannot fall asleep. So that stupid doctor gave him some anesthesia, propofol, a very strong medication, and he never woke up. So these are the things. So those persons who are frustrated with all the material things that they have, that they have earned, then they are looking for salvation, mukti. Now it's enough, I want to go to India. We have heard there it is the land of the saints, and I will go there. Many hippies used to go there when they left their homes. Like when Prabhupada came to New York in 1965, Hayagriva Prabhu, Professor Howard Wheeler already been there to India before Prabhupada came to New York, in search of a guru, in search of salvation, in search of mukti, because of the frustration. All that hippie culture was, what is it all about? Many of them came from very rich families, extremely rich families. And they were trying to find their happiness through sense gratification, free sex, free this, free that, all the different things that they tried, but nothing was really making them happy. So dharma, artha, kam, and moksha, these four things, that is also for me. It is selfishness. I'm going to do piety, dharma, so that I will get artha. I will get money. I will get money so my material desires will be fulfilled. And now that I've got everything in the world that I can buy, I'm still not happy. So now I need liberation. So it's all about me. I, and I. So where is the question of bhakti? Where is the question of Krishna? Where is the relationship between God and us? So wonderfully, Naradji tells him that this is what you have done in the Vedas. Yes, you have described some bhakti, but you have mixed it. Write something, compose something. I am going to manifest Srimad Bhagavatam, that is Purana Amalam, which is spotless, which is pure bhakti. And that is what our Gaudiya Guru Vaishnava Acharya is all about. all of them take a backseat, whether it is Gautam Buddha or all these philosophers. And anybody, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Gauranga Virodha Jana Mukha Na Heribo. I will not look at the faces of anybody who has opposed the philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is none other than the highest propagation of bhakti. Yadi gaur na hoite tabi ke hoito kemone dharitam de radhara mahima prema rasa sima jagat janata ke. If Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not appeared, Vasu Ghosh, an associate of Mahaprabhu, writes in one of the bhajans, Yadi gaur na hoite, if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not appear, tabe ki hoito, what would have happened? Kemone dharitam de, how would I have continued living? Radhara mahima prema rasa sima. The zenith of the highest love that is possible, the crescendo of love, how would we have understood? How would we have understood Radhara Mahima? How we would have understood the greatness of Radharani? Rup Goswami says, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratishay Namaha. I offer my obeisances to that personality whose name is Krishna Chaitanya and who has actually given us Krishna Prem. Namo Mahavadanyaya, the greatest of the greatest givers. Vadanyaya means munificent or somebody who is very charitable. And Mahavadanyaya means the greatest charitable personality. And what is he doing? He's not giving some ordinary treasure of gold coins and diamonds and rubies. Krishna prema pradayate. Prakrishta rupena dayate iti pradayate. Prakrishta means extreme. Dayate means giving in charity. Dana. Dan means charity. Pradayate. What? Krishna prema pradayate. Giving love. And what kind of love? In the Gaudiya Vaishnava is the Madhurya Rasa, the kind of love that the gopis have in Vrindavan. That is Krishna Prem. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Bhakti-pratikūla sthane na koriya vasati. And whichever ever places that are not conducive to my bhakti, I will never reside. So this is a very practical instruction. And this may be true for even if our house, our family members, if they are against our Krishna consciousness, we should reject them, like Prabhupada rejected his own wife and family. We know that in the 1950s, when Srila Prabhupada, he had started translating Bhagavad Gita in his house. And this was all handwritten, no typewriter, nothing. Because his Guru Maharaj in the 1922s and again in 1935, he says, when you get money, print books. So Srila Prabhupada started translating the Bhagavad Gita into English as it is. Excuse me. Hare Krishna. And he wrote it, handwritten scripts of the Bhagavad Gita, and he had kept a complete bunch somewhere in the corner of the house. And he used to go out for work or business. And when he came one day, he asked his wife, where are those papers that I had left here? Oh, those papers I sold. What do you mean you sold? Yeah, we didn't have money for tea and biscuits. So Prabhupada was furious. Tea or me? And his wife jokingly said, tea. And Prabhupada left. He did not look behind. He left his home. So Bhakti-pratikūla sthane na koriya vasati. If there is a place where we cannot perform our devotional services or bhakti, we should give up that. And that could even include the association of neophyte devotees who are simply gossiping, who are simply, interested in just name and fame. It does not matter what their position may be. Maybe if they are temple president, or they may be even GBC, or they may be such and such. If they cannot give you value to pure devotional service on the lines of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, then we should not associate with them. Bhakti pratikula sthane na koriya vasati bhaktira apriya karya nahi kori rati. And one should never take pleasure in any kind of non-devotional works. Nowadays, in the name of devotion, we find that there are temples that are organizing these Garba programs, and they're organizing fundraisers by calling mundane singers so that they can raise $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 fundraiser. This is not the mood of Mahaprabhu. This is not the mood of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This is not the mood of Srila Prabhupada. Everything is getting diluted, whether it is Hindu temples or even certain ISKCON temples. No, people are in some of the temples, they have these fashion shows, and they have all these ladies and men dressed up in different attires, walking down, what do you call that, catwalk. And then, they call it this, and this is approved by some of the so-called senior devotees in the movement. That is not acceptable. So bhaktira apriyakari nahi kori roti. One should not get attached to anywhere where that is not palatable to bhakti. Any kind of activities that take place, I will never take pleasure, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, in non-devotional works. Apriyakari. Very important. So it may look like it is in the garb of devotional service. It will look, nowadays, Sankirtan, people call that Sankirtan. I'm going down for Sankirtan, and they'll be selling incense, and they'll be selling bumper stickers. Many years ago, where I lived in Chicago, in a very nice high-rise building on Lakeshore Drive. So one day while I was just, pulling out of my building garage, I saw one devotee standing on the side, in the middle of the line with the intersection, and he's selling those stickers. To the cars that were stopped at the traffic light. And they were not devotional stickers. There were some stickers like, I love New York or Chicago or something like that. And then I saw the person, and then later on when I met him in the temple, I said, what were you doing? I saw you at my intersection. Oh, I was on Sankirtan. I said, my goodness, is this the definition of Sankirtan? Do we all even know the meaning of Sankirtan? Selling incense and calling it Sankirtan, it's an insult to the holy name. Samyak Kirtan iti Sankirtan. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur defines the word Sankirtan. Sankirtan is, when you divide that into Sanskrit from, it's a combination of two words. San means Samyak, and Kirtan means glorification. Samyak means full glorification. There's more than one meaning. It is also congregational chanting or congregational glorification of Krishna. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and our Gaudiya Acharyas have gone deeper by explaining the meaning of the word Sankirtan. San means Samyak. Samyak means for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, where there is the presence of Radha Krishna. So the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is full Sankirtan, because Radha and Krishna and their associates are fully present in the Mahamantra. So when we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, that is Hare means all the associates of Radharani and herself, headed by her, they are present in the word Hara. And Krishna means Krishna, the all attractive, the one who attracts everybody in Raj, in particular, everybody who drives crazy. Ram means what? It's not Lord Ramachandra. Even it is not Lord Balram from the highest perspective. That because we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas in Madhurya Rasa, we do not worship Lord Balram, because Lord Balram, then he comes into that mood of Sakhya Ras and other rasas. That Ram means Ranjayati Ramyati iti Ramaha. Ram means what Radharani calls the word. She uses the word Ha Natha Ramana Preshta. Ranjayati Ramyati iti Ram means Raman. Raman means that Krishna who sported with Srimati Radharani in the groves of Vrindavan. That is the meaning of Raman. So Raman abbreviation is Ram. So these are some of the nuances. Mahamantra itself, if we sometimes get time, we will do a whole seminar on that, and that will take several sessions on the deeper meanings of the, and we did that during the Chaitanya Sistastakam. We had 22 sessions, because the Chaitanya Sistastakam is all about Sankirtan. It is all about the holy name. So that word Rama means it is the lover of Srimati Radharani. In particular, we are as following in the footsteps of the gopis. But of course, Srila Prabhupada in the beginning stages, yes, you can consider that as Lord Ramachandra. You can consider him as Lord Balram. But that is what we are talking about, graduating and post-graduating and mastering. There are more and more deeper meanings in the Mahamantra. Jiva Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, All our Raghunath Das Goswami, all our acharyas have given so much wonderful nectar in every name of the holy names and their nectarian meanings. So that is Sankirtan. Sankirtan is not what we see in the Hindu temples. That is not Sankirtan, because they don't glorify Radha and Krishna. They do not glorify Radha and Krishna along with their associates in Vraj Bhav. That is the true meaning of Sankirtan. So that is the Bhakti Pratikūla sthane na kori vasati bhaktira apriya karye nahi kori rati. Bhaktira virodhi grantha patha na koribo. I will not study any scriptures that will not teach me pure devotional service. That is opposed to pure devotional service. Very important instructions. We find so many wonderful philosophical books. I am that personal example that I can talk. Since childhood, we have been interested in philosophy, and every time when I went, if you're those who are familiar in Bombay, right outside Churchgate Station, there were so many different vendors selling books. And I would buy every time I would walk on that sidewalk, I would pick up a book on philosophy and different philosophers. And, I used to bring it home and read it sometimes all night long. I'm just attracted to different philosophies, just because that gave some nutrition to the mind. But as I came across Srila Prabhupada's books and teachings, oh Krishna, where were you? Where were you? Where were you, Srila Prabhupada? These are the answers that I was waiting for, that gave me satisfaction. That gave me full satisfaction. Trust me, this is coming from somebody who has experienced all these things. So bhaktira virodhi grantha pathana koriyo. Nowadays, we are so fortunate that we have everything on a platter. We need not go into different philosophies unnecessarily when it is not there, because there is bhakti virodhi grantha. Virod means opposition of pure devotion. Any kind of, even if it is whether Hindu scriptures or Vedas, that propagate, my dear Lord, give me this, give me that. In all the Hindu temples, there's that famous artis that Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Gardhan Ave Sukha Sampati Ave Kashta Mite Tanka. So what is that? Everybody's heard that. Everywhere, 99.99% at the end, they always sing that in that arti. Has anybody even thought about it? Is that pure devotional service? They're asking a long list that Garadhana in my house, let me get wealth. Kashta mite tanka, let me get rid of all my different pains that are inflicted in my body. Pure devotees don't pray like that. Pure bhakti is not dependent on any kind of material reciprocation of the Lord. Pure bhakti is independent. So any kind of scripture that propagates anything else, savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radokshacha ahitukiya pratiyata jena atma suprasidati. Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter. What is the definition of bhakti? What kind of bhakti? It should be ahituki, without any material motive. When we go to the temple, most of us have a long Santa Claus list. That should not be there. No need. Krishna knows he's already there in the heart. Then why even ask him? Ask him for what we are lacking is pure devotion unto him. Apratiyata, uninterrupted. Bhagavad says uninterrupted. Not that things are right now bad and I go to the temple more and more. I go to the church or the mosque or the temple or the synagogue. And then when things become good, then see you, Krishna, bye-bye, tata. See you later, alligator. See you on Janmashtami. See you twice a year. Or, when somebody is sick in the family or when we have some kind of a distress, we chant the holy name. Oh, the Hare Krishnas told us to chant. No, it is not meant for that. But who is going to explain that? Who is going to learn that? How many of us are willing to study Srila Prabhupada's books to those extent? In his purports, he has said that. Why aren't we getting attracted to that? That main core message. Bhaktira virodhi vyakhya kabunak sunibo. and any kind of explanation of the Shastras which disagree with the conclusions of pure devotional service, I will not listen. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that. Bhagavad Shuno Bhagavad Sthane. One should listen to the scriptures from pure devotees. Meaning, pure devotees meaning those who are fully realized, like Srila Prabhupada. So anybody who is speaking Prabhupada's and Acharya's language or explaining their teachings as it is, then they are true representatives. That is as it is. And that is the goal of Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad Group and Bhagavad Vani. We are not into the number game. We are not into those, like Prabhupada said, that I'm here when he came to the West, and when he in the early 65s, in the 65, when he met the Ramakrishna mission people, they were also from Bengal. And they said, Swamiji, you are a Vaishnava, but if you try to impose all your Vaishnava teachings to these people here in the West, they will run away. It's so cold here in New York that, sometimes you may even have to take a little bit of brandy to keep warm. Or you will have to eat meat to keep your body nice and stout. And if you tell them, give up meat eating and give up all these intoxicants because you have this Vaishnava philosophy, because they, Ramakrishna people, followers of the so-called great Ramakrishna, that great Vivekananda, they're all meat eaters. How can they even call Ramakrishna Paramhansa? It's an insult to the word Paramhansa. Srimad Bhagavatam is Paramhansa Samhita. Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for the Paramahansas. It is not meant for some, and Srimad Bhagavatam is spoken by the Paramhansas. Hansa means a swan. And the swan has a very good quality. Prabhupada explains that in his purports. That the swan, when it is dipping its neck in the water, and sometimes you find that it's dipping and keeping the neck in the water, it is trying to separate the milk. There is milk in the water somewhere. Either someone has thrown, or it is that nectar comes out of the lotuses. It simply extracts that, it separates it. That is a Hansa. A Paramhansa means a great swan with that great ability. So a great swan-like personality is that who is able to distinguish between the material and the spiritual. One who is able to distinguish not only for themselves, but also when they are preaching and giving everybody as it is the nectar, which is untinged with any kind of mixture. So that is a swan. That is why the great saintly personalities are called Paramhansas, not meat eaters. But people in large, they are ignorant of the Vedic instructions. They're ignorant of the pure conclusions of Srimad Bhagavatam. And like the Srimad Bhagavatam says, that Prayana Alpa Ayushya Rajan, Manda Sumanda Matayo, Manda Bhagyahi Upadritaha. O King Parikshit, Sukadeva Goswami tells King Parikshit in the Bhagavatam, listen to the symptoms of the age of Kali Yuga. Prayana Alpa Ayushya, they have short-lived or short lifespan. Alpa Ayushya. Manda, people are lazy. Sumanda Matayo, they are misguided. Manda Matayo, mat means opinion or guidance, and Manda Matayo means misguided. Sumanda Matayo, Manda Bhagya, they are very unfortunate. We are very fortunate that we have got the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. But if we throw it away and we dilute it and we think it's okay. Nowadays, into inverted commas, I quote, it's okay. It's okay. No, it's not okay. It depends. Yeah, it's okay if we want to continuously be reborn again and again in this material world. Either sometimes due to piety, go into the upper planetary systems in the heavenly planets, but ultimately come back. And then again, no guarantee human life, no human life, no guarantee good association, not good association, no guarantees. Bad association, then again we are pushed down to the 7 hellish planets. Again, punishment is finished, we are released, we come back on earth. Again, we don't know. So we are very fortunate. Ei rupe brahmand bravite kono bhagyavan jeev Guru Krishna prasade paye bhakti rata beech. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very clearly said that Bhagavad suno Bhagavad sthane. Bhagavad means the book Bhagavad or the scriptures. Suno means hear. Bhagavad sthane. By when Bhagavad speak means the person Bhagavad is speaking. Bhaktira virodha vyakhya kabuna sunibo. And in the next bhajan that we sang today, it's amazing how he has wonderfully delineated, especially the Mayavadis. And that itself will be another session next time when I go. But I will finish the the last few verses of this bhajan. So here he is saying further, Gauranga Varjita Sthane Tirtha Nahi Mani. So if any sacred place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has rejected, then I will not go there. I will not go there. Yes, because one can go to different places of pilgrimage. They are good. That will give you some bhakti, but it will not give you the highest bhakti of Raj. For example, if one goes to Haridwar and one goes to Rishikesh and one goes to Badrik Narayan, Badrik Ashram, and one goes to what is that, Gangotri, Yamunotri, and all those different places. India is full. Every state has got a place of pilgrimage. But that is not going to give you Krishna Prem. Not all of those places. A Gauranga, Varjita Sthana, Tirtha Nahi Mani. Many years ago, I had that great desire that I will go, whenever I go to India, to all those different places of pilgrimage. I wanted to go. I've never done the 4 Dham Yatras in the Himalayas, the famous Badrik, Kedarnath, Badrinath, etc. And as by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the books of the Acharyas, now that has dwindled. That even the thought or that thing even if I go there, am I going to get that Raj Prem? The answer is no. It's not going to manifest. Or even if I go to Ayodhya and take darshan of Ram Bhumi, I'm talking about myself now. Again, this is a self-introspective analysis based on what Mahaprabhu's, because our movement is about the Madhurya Rasa, Vraj Prem. So at some point we have to decide. We cannot say that, I want to stay in the 10th standard and learn all the subjects where physics, chemistry, biology, geography, history. We have to choose one subject, and even within one subject, we have to attain that perfection. So that is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur's bhav or the sentiment is. Bhaktira Badar, he's saying that Bhaktira Virodhi Vyakhya Kahuna Subino Gauranga Varjita Sthana Tirtha Nahi Mani. So for me, that is not, for me the Tirtha will be Mayapur, Navadvip. That's where Mahaprabhu, because Navadvip is non-different from Sri Vrindavan Dham. The birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where the bhav is Vraj bhav. Going to Jagannath Puri, that is the bhav in separation. Radha, it is the separation of Srimati Radharani feels. That's the bhav that Mahaprabhu felt in the Gambhira in Jagannath Puri. That is where I will visit. That the Gaudiya Vaishnava is always desiring like that. And of course, Vraj Mandal, Vrindavan Dham. But anything else, Gauranga Varjita Sthana Tirtha Nahi Mani. Bhaktira Badhaka Gyan Karma Tuchha Jani. And anything that becomes an impediment, any kind of knowledge that becomes an impediment to pure devotional service, I will consider that as tuchha. Tuchha means I will reject it. Tuchha nahi jani. So that includes all the 6 philosophers that we discussed: Kapila, Patanjali, Gautama, Konobhuji, Bauddha, Jaimini, Dhave Ave. They're all coming running to me, all these philosophers. And Bhaktira Badaka Kale Na Kori Adar. And Bhaktira, any season or any time which poses obstacles to the execution of devotional service, I will not favor. Bhaktir Bahirmukh Nija Jane Jani Par. And those who are averse to bhakti, that includes relatives, friends, acquaintances, I will consider them as strangers. It is not so easy because, most of us, we don't understand the highest nuances of bhakti. So for us, it's all the same. Andheri nagri mein kano raja, take ser bhaji, take ser khaja. There is a saying. Some of you all who understand Hindi, in one town, there was a king who was blind, and in that town, everything was the same value. Whether khaja is like made from pure ghee. It is one of those very expensive sweet items, khaja. Like when we go to Jagannath Puri, we have the Jagannath khaja. But there is also a khaja that are huge and round, and they are like very. Some of them are sweet, some of them are salty, but they're made in pure ghee, very expensive. And bhaji means the cheap vegetables that are found for like 10 cents a bunch. Like you pick up some spinach or some cilantro, 50 cents a bunch. But if you go to buy khaja in a good sweet shop, that's going to cost for one piece perhaps about $10, as an example. But in somebody who is unfair or who is blind, it's the same price. Take ser khaji, take ser khaja, take ser bhaji. So for 10 cents, even the khaja, and for 10 cents, even the bhaji. So that is the case with most of the people when it comes to philosophical conclusions. They all lead to the same place. We should just, if somebody says, okay, let's go for Mata's Choki, Jai Mata Di, let's go there. Somebody says, let's go for this demigod's festival, and that is also, and we not only that, we equate it with Krishna Bhakti. It's all the same. We hear that in the Hindu temples. Sab same hai, sab theek hai. So that is the conclusion here that Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, that Bhaktir Badak Kal na kori adar, Bhakti Bahir Mukh Nijo Jane Janipar. Even our own so-called own, they are strangers to me. Our real family is who? The family of his divine, the sincere followers of his divine grace. Because that's what's going to help us at the time of death. What is that verse? In the Yam Yam Vapi Smaranam Bhav Tajeti Ante Kavalev. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, whatever your consciousness is at the time of death, you will obtain the next body. And if you remember me, you will come to me. So who is your real relative? Who is your real bandhu? Who is your real friend? Who is your real surut? Your well-wisher? Those who can help us remember Krishna at the time of death. That is his divine grace, Srila Prabhupada and his sincere followers. Those are our real family members. Otherwise, what is going to happen if we are surrounded by our materialistic, conscious family members? When somebody is dying, they're thinking about property, they're thinking about getting the will, they're making sure that their name is in the will. And similarly, the consciousness of the person dying is also thinking, okay, I have given you this house and I've given you this house, and please, the business is now, both of you, both the brothers. And then suddenly he leaves his breath. Where is Krishna? This is what he learned in the association of these people. How to be good materialistic person. But what we will learn by the mercy of Vaishnavas is we will learn how to leave our body. Those are our real well-wishers and our family members. Because when we go back home, back to Godhead, that's where we will meet them. And those so-called family members that are there, they will be here for certain millions and millions of births until they take to the process of pure devotional service. And then they will break this strata of this material world, and then they will be able to enter into the spiritual world. Until then, puna puna janam, puna puna maranam, janani jatare shayanam. Shankaracharya Pad says that, who is none other than Lord Shiva, again and again, born again, in different wombs. Janani jatare shayanam. Puna puna janam, puna puna maranam. Again and again being born, and again getting death in this material world. And finally, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Bhaktira Badika Spriya Koribo Varjan. O Bhakta Pradatta Anna na Koriyo Grant. Wonderful instruction. See, the more we follow, the better for us. Just like if somebody wants to make it to the Olympics, there are many athletes who want to make it to the World Cup, play for the cricket team, but only 11 are chosen. The 11 best for that particular country. Same thing Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that Bahunam Janmanam ante Gyanvan ma prapadyate Vasudev Sarvamiti Samatma Sudurla Manushyanam Sahasrasu Kaschit Yatate Siddhaye. After many births, one really comes to the conclusion that I am the Samam Bonam. And out of those, very few, Manushyanam Sahasra Kaschit Yatate Siddhaye. Very few attain that perfection of Golok Vrindavan, of this pure devotional service. So Bhaktira Badhika Spriya Koribo Varjana. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that any desires that hinder my spirituality, my pure devotion, I will not, I will keep it apart. And abhakta pradatta annana koribo grad. And anything that is cooked by non-devotees, I will not accept. Because it is said that through food, our consciousness is altered. It is a question of association. Like when we associate with elements, a simple example, when we were studying chemistry in school, I still remember in our lab, we had all these different sulfuric acid, hydrochloric acid, ammonia. And then the moment we opened those bottles, and some of them were very sulfur dioxide was produced in our experiments, and it was very pungent. Like it smelled like rotten tomatoes. And so then when I went home, my mother used to say, why is your shirt smelling so dirty? Then I had to explain that, we were experimenting on sulfur dioxide, and that's why it all permeated in my clothes. So whatever we are, there's a proverb in English, we are what we eat. So if we partake to foodstuffs in the mode of ignorance, then we will never get the science of self-realization in our hearts. If we eat meat, which is in the mode of ignorance. Why? Because all animals are in the mode of ignorance. They have no civic sense. Even if we look at them, if you go to a farmer's pen, and all those chicken and all those pigs and all those animals that are there, they are all pushed into one barn, and that's where they pass their urine and their stool, and that's where they eat. And when they mate, they produce the little ones, and just as the little ones grow up, the same father mates with them. Now, isn't that tamasic? Isn't that the gross level of ignorance? And then we very nicely go to all those huge steakhouses, pay $200 a steak, and all those different fancy items that are there on the menu, spending $400, $500 with those fancy restaurants, and we take that. What are we? When we do that, we are associating with gross ignorance. I remember one time, His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj Ji said that those who are eating meat, they are basically walking graveyards. They are walking graveyards. We are paying money to become graveyards just for our sense gratification. So when we eat meat, we become like that. You are what you eat. That is why in the Western culture, we see there's more and more cheating, divorces. All these things are there. Why? It is due to rampant meat eating. Intoxicants like liquor and drugs, etc. They're totally in the mode of ignorance, because they make you forget even that you are a human being. Sometimes the people, how they behave when they're drunk or intoxicated. So how can they even understand the basics of spiritual life? So that is the reason, even though we order vegetarian foodstuffs in a restaurant, we are all guilty of it. Sometimes when we are traveling, we have no choice. But we have to choose very carefully. We have to try our best to find at least a vegetarian place where there is no meat being cooked in that place. Because when we go to those places, even when the cook that is cooking, he may be cooking a vegetarian dish for us, but what is his consciousness? He's been eating meat all his life, etc. It is not offered to Krishna. And it cannot be offered to Krishna. If we really look at it, it's the same dirty grease pots and pans that they use, to cook the vegetarian order that comes up on their slip in the kitchen. That is why abhakta pradatta anna na kori grahan. And even if that person is a vegetarian, but if he's not a devotee, if let's for example he's a Mayavad or a Brahmavad, then that consciousness permeates through that particular foodstuffs. Because we are actually ingesting it and it is going into our body. And our modern science also says that each and every cell is nourished through the stomach through the process of digestion. The blood cells are being formed and the different cells are being formed. And that is all due to what we intake. So if we intake prasadam, then it is transcendental and it will become very easy to understand. Therefore, if I've observed in the last 32 years, especially coming to ISKCON and even prior to, being connected to something spiritually speaking, those who are meat eaters, they never showed that much interest. Majority of them, when somebody was doing kirtan or speaking or anything, some of them mostly felt guilty and they felt that this is a waste of time. Either they felt so proud or so arrogant that these people have no business. They give the example jivo jivasya nam. The eco chain is one's food isn't one's what is that called? One's food is another man's food. So that the eco chain. But it is true for animals. If a tiger kills a deer or a cow or a buffalo and eats it, it is not going to incur karmic reaction. But if a human being does that, they will incur karmic reaction. They do not understand it and they're not interested. That is the effect of intoxicants. That is the effect of meat. That is the effect when we eat foodstuffs that has been cooked by non-devotees. Then we will not be able to understand these sublime subject matters. And in the last line, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says that jaha kichu bhakti-pratikūla boli jani, tajivo jatan tahe ei nishchoyvani. He says, I will take a vow that wherever anything that is not conducive to bhakti, I promise that that anything that contradicts pure devotion, I will throw away, I will reject. In Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Pranam Mantra, the last line especially, like we have Prabhupada's Pranam Mantra, as you all know, it glorifies the Acharya or glorifies that personality in a few short, sweet stanza or lines. So in Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Pranam Mantra, in the last line, it is mentioned, Rupa Anuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta Dvanta Harine. Any principles that are against the teachings of the followers of Rupa Goswami, Rupa Anuga, Rupa means Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami is none other than the Siksha disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And of course, in the spiritual world, in Vrindavan Dham, is none other than one of the most intimate servitors of Srimati Radhika as Rup Manjari. So Rupa Anuga, Anuga means following. So the Gaudiya Vaishnava line are followers of Rupa Goswami, Rupa Anuga. Apasiddhanta, anything that is against the principles of the teachings of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Dvanta Harine, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to cut it to pieces. If anybody brought some nonsense philosophy in front of him, that was the quality. That is why he was known as the Lion Guru, the Simha Guru. Simha means lion. He would cut it Dvanta Harine. He would cut it to pieces. Cut it to pieces with the pure devotional conclusions of all the different quoting from scriptures. Bhakti Vinoda Podi Prabhura Charane, Bhaktivinoda Thakur falls on the lotus feet of Krishna, Magaya Shakti, Pratikulyera Varjana, and he is asking, begging at the lotus feet of Krishna, please give me, my dear Krishna, please give me the strength to reject everything that is against the conclusions of pure bhakti, that is not conducive to pure bhakti. So Hare Krishna. So next time when I will be speaking, I think there will be 2 more sessions. They're amazing Bhaktivinoda Thakur's bhajans, and what I sang today, I will explain it next time. And then there's one more bhajan that is from the internal mood of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. about even within the spiritual world and within the spiritual realm, even within bhakti, what should be rejected. So, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Bhakti Vinod Thakur ji. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Back to you, Vaishnadas Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Satchitananda, thank you for doing all that research by which we can all benefit and have more time to chant while you research. Thank you. So that's very good. And lots of nice points. I'm not going to summarize them now, but it is time for devotees to share their thoughts and questions they may have. So let's open up the mics to all our